All right, this is recording 642. Um, Before I begin, because a lot of times you guys know she blanks my short-term memory where I can't remember something while I'm recording it. So I just learned something from my roommate that I didn't know even existed. And it's no coincidence. It starts 2000, it's released in 2016, see all code. There's a show on TV called The 411. Okay, so hang on, let me see, I'll pull it up here. Okay, it's called Missing 411. Okay, so anyway, it is the Missing 411 theory alleges that people are disappearing under unusual and mysteriously similar circumstances in wilderness areas, particularly in the United States, according to author David Paulides. And then note his name. Paulides' self-published series of books and films documents these cases, posting that they're too coincidental to be random. Okay, so obviously this is all connected, and I want to know if someone could please speak with this author and where he got his information from. Was some of it stolen from me decoding these past 9 years, and he was given pieces of it and enough to make something out of this? I haven't watched the show, or comparing it to what he already knows, so he's realizing that it's no coincidence, and or is she just ice raping this director and giving him the idea to do this, and it's his own, he thinks it's his own creation, where Gene Roberts sits in the background, again hiding in plain sight, Hollywoodizing on TV what she's really getting the heck away with, what I'm really trying to turn her in for. So, because there's no coincidence on any of this, okay? So, when you guys know Mary J. Blige, what's the 411? That means 1411 means information. Now, because of this theory, or they're calling this theory the missing 411. And I bet you anything that Gene Roberts is behind ice raping them, because she's referring to John Waite, the singer from the early 80s. You know, she loves all that stuff. And he sang a song called Missing You. And notice his name is David Paulides. And then also see all code on, I decoded where she was writing in Mary J. Blige's name, and it was weird because I was in the middle of, and she started flipping out and started telling lies. And I don't know like what happened, but I know the Mary J. Blige knows that people are missing, okay? So, I've gotten to talk to her, I would say a lot. I would say a lot over the past 9 years, not like extensive, like we sit and have mental telepathy conversations. I mean, she goes on and off. She lets me know I'm still here. I know what's going on. Gene is not going to get away with any of this. Just be strong. And then Gene finds out Mary J. Blige is on, and then she starts attacking the heck out of her. And then everybody just goes silent. They get really pissed and they just go silent. So I don't know why Gene Jernigan Roberts thinks she's going to mastermind hip hop and rap, trying to tell on Gene. So this is no coincidence. So she's using Mary J. Blige's music. So when I decoded her using Mary J. Blige's name, okay, in these crypt ciphers. It was in the middle of a page where I was decoding her planning to do the World Trade Center attack and her planning future terror plots. And she had encoded in her Charles Manson crypt ciphers, she had encoded in Al Gore there. Okay, so Al Gore, he is known for an inconvenient truth. Okay, so they even came on last night, not Al Gore, but politicians came on last night in my brain, and Jean Roberts went about her stupid ass little conspiracy theory, and then she started attacking Al Gore, and people were like, you know what? And they cursed Jean Roberts out, and they said climate change was Al Gore's passion. You take people's passions that they're passionate about in the United States government, and you turn it into a conspiracy theory, and then you try to blame them as if they're a part of it. And you know who else she tried to do that to? And what did Jean do? She climbed in, which I never told you guys this next part of this. Remember the recording where I told you I had her in the cage? I put her in the cage, okay, in my brain and mental telepathy. And then, okay, so you see that whole recording. It's all about knowing that she did World Trade Center attack, and knowing that she's been running trafficking rings, and I stuck her in the cage. And then people promised me that Jean Roberts would be flown around the world. And it's the cage from Friday, the movie Friday, that she would be flown around the world in a plane filled with chickens, and she would be sitting inside that cage. And she'll visit every country so they can have their say before she's executed, is what was promised to me. So anyway, after this, so you're going to see all this whole recording. So then after this, Jean Roberts superimposes herself. She gets on my dad's back patio. She gets the cage. She gets inside the cage. She closes the door, and she starts cracking up laughing. She's sitting in it laughing, and then everybody that's on in my brain is like, can you believe she did that? And she did that. She did that on purpose, because she knows what she's been doing to people at the border on top of this. And she's laughing, saying she's going to get away with all of it. She thinks it's that fucking funny. And since then, people have gone in my brain and brain visuals and mental telepathy, and they go to that scene of Jean Jernigan Roberts putting herself in the cage and laughing her ass off. And man, people kick the fucking shit out of her. They flip her upside down in the cage. They knock the cage around. They kick her ass in the water. They beat the shit out of her in that cage. I mean, just looking at her doing that pisses them off. And she did it on purpose, on purpose, on purpose. And she has no little lie excuse. She can't go, I was going opposites. No, you were clearly, because at that time, everything you do is scandalous, Jean. Everything you do is fucking lie. And during that time frame when you did that, you were heavily telling Christina, you got away with all of this, and you will get away with all of it. Ooh, look how she's controlling my speech right now. She tried to highlight that you will get away with all of it in my sentence just now. You were threatening me, Christina. I'm Christina. You were threatening me, saying you would get away with every crime you committed. And you were bragging about it in my brain. And you know, everybody has seen that. They have seen you in that cage laughing your fucking ass off on my dad's back patio in Slidell, Louisiana. So anyway, she did that. She did that intentionally on purpose. You've got to listen to all the recordings that go to everything. I've got like 650 recordings up. But anyway, so around this time, so back to Jean Jernigan Roberts, same person, her demonic crypt ciphers, her Charles Manson ciphers. So she had written in Mary J. Blige, and Mary J. Blige became famous in the 90s, but she obviously was in the 80s, was obviously also very musical. Okay. So she probably had, I don't know her biography. Her biography would be fascinating, but obviously Jean already had her eye on her, and she was trying to intertwine her with Al Gore in An Inconvenient Truth, is what she was trying to do. Okay. And this was all circa 1986, is when I'm decoding all these ciphers. I could tell kind of like the time frames because I've decoded so much for 9 years now. I can tell kind of when she wrote the ciphers, when she was adding on. So this was around that time frame. And I mean, or earlier before that time frame. So I'm going, what is this? What is she doing? And I'm mad. I'm like heartbroken because I know she's stalking Mary J. Blige. So I'm freaking out. And I already been knowing that she's been stalking the Clintons and the Gores. And I already been knowing out of all the decode that she did the World Trade Center attack. So it's like, you got your known knowns that you're angry about, and then you got your new knowns that you're angry about. And so I'm freaking out over Mary J. Blige. What is she doing? She's stalking the hell out of her. So, but I'm sitting there looking at the decoded ciphers they coded, and I'm going, what is this? What is she doing? Now it all makes sense. And she just thought Mary J. Blige was just going to fall for everything, that she was going to be able to hustle Mary J. Blige, and she was going to just fall for Jean Jernigan Roberts and let her get away with this. No, Jean Roberts, Navy Gal 27 at yahoo.com won't be getting away with any of this. So anyway, okay, so, all right, so where do I start here? Okay, so I'm going over the numbers. So I went over the images with you last night, and now I want to go over the math with you. So some other images that I have on my same shared folder on ChristinaStation918.com, where I'm saying this is for recording 636 to 641. Okay, you should also have on there a close-up of the Everglades. Note there's a homestead, which is one of the group home names that I was in Mesa, Arizona, and that was on Country Club, and it was on Country Club in Maine, I think is what it was on. They used to be called Prehab of Arizona, and now they're called a New Leaf. Okay, so Homestead is there. Then also Corral Castle is there. This is in the Florida Everglades. I'm telling you, my entire life from before birth to present, she has been stalking and controlling me and my family our entire lives. Okay, so you guys know Corral is my first husband's middle name. Then above that is Zoo Miami. Okay, so you know Miami is a city near Globe, Arizona. Okay, so and this is right above Key Largo. Now, My dad was born in Key West, which is probably over here somewhere. So anyway, another picture that I have up at the bottom of Florida is the Guy Bradley Visitor Center at Flamingo. Okay, so let me explain this to you. So this again goes to Globe, Arizona. So when I went to East Globe Elementary in Globe, Arizona, I knew I'm talking about all my little classmates that I was in grade school with. I knew two of them. Okay, two of them. She's very obsessed with all my little classmates. I've decoded it hundreds of times. She stalked me. She stalked my friends. She stalked my family. She stalked my future family. She controlled like all of us, her and her Charles Manson occult. Okay, and she keeps pushing them into my brain, like letting me know that she's always gotten away with purchasing me and owning me and doing whatever she wants to me. And she's done the same thing to my little classmates, my little friends from school, and she'll keep doing it and she doesn't care. Jean Jernigan Roberts is that in my brain. She's done that in my brain for 9 years now. It's so bad I had to go through and think about every little freaking kid, every freaking little boy, every little boyfriend, every little boy I ever had a crush on in school to see, well, my God, how many of you are there? Let's go see what she did to you guys. Because she's stalking the shit out of all of you. The same as me, all of our lives. Like we're her little robot freaking doll freaking experiment good times. So I'm like, I literally had to go through everybody. So two of these people, one of their names was Guy. And the other little kid's name was Brad. And then this is also where Brad Pitt, the actor, okay, he I don't know if he's from, I don't know where he's from. I know he loves New Orleans, okay? And I know that Brad Pitt knows everything that's going on. I know he knows everything. And he's filled with like curse words at the entire situation. He wants Jean Jernigan Roberts arrested. He wants this stopped. He's even showed me, because when I went to go research his filmography, like, okay, well, I mean, you're Brad Pitt. Of course she's stalking you. You're like freaking Tom Cruise. So, or Leo DiCaprio. So I'm like, let me go see what she freaking did to you. So I'm like going and looking at Brad Pitt's filmography, and I'm realizing Brad Pitt's name comes from my classmate Brad in Globe, Arizona when I was in elementary school. And he knows that he was on with me when I could see. He goes, okay, I definitely have a connection to Christina Marie Stacia. This is how Jean Roberts got my name or made my name. And he's like going all through everything about Globe, Arizona. So anyway, so this is absolutely no coincidence here. I mean, I can't even believe that. Okay, so then, all right, where do I go here? I want to go back to my pictures. Okay, so, all right, so, okay. So I want to just make sure I got everything covered here. Okay, so remember yesterday I said this goes to the Titanic, okay? So those 3 lines go to the Titanic, okay? So the Titanic, if you go look at it, it was red and black and white, and then it had four, I guess those are called the cylinders at the top, the steam things. Okay, then, okay, so the Titanic, what was the length of the Titanic? The Titanic was 882 feet, 9 inches long. In other words, 883 feet long. CL code 8, CL code 83. Or, would be 269.06. Maybe that's meters. It just has an M there. With the breadth of 92, C code 92, of 92 feet, 6 inches, 28.19 meters. Okay, so you know 28 means AH, it means land. Okay, it's used in, I first figured this all out because she based Amityville Horror on my childhood. Okay, so it goes to Amityville Horror. So HA, is an acre, it's an acre of land. Okay, so when you see the 28, you know instantly that means land mass. Okay, so then going through this, okay, so the United States is approximately 2,800 miles wide. It's 2,800 miles wide from the Atlantic to the Pacific coast. While the total U.S. width, including Alaska and Hawaii, can be over 5,000 miles, depending on the specific points chosen. So you see the 2,800, the 2.8, and then you see the V. The V is, you know the V. The V is the snake, okay? The snake strike. Okay, so I'm like, the Titanic is supposed to overlay. The Titanic's length is built based on the width of the United States of America. Because those three things, Titanic has 4, okay? But those 3 things, that has to do with those lines on the United States map, okay? So I'm like, all right, so let me figure out the ratio of this. So if you go 883 feet divided by 2,800 miles, then that comes out to 5.97267,316. So you already get the 5, okay? You see this obviously rounds to 6, okay? Remember the 972, the 279, the 729, that's like that all over the world. Here in the United States, I decoded all the highways at every combination of 972 that goes to Alice in Wonderland. It's also the area code prefix in Dallas, Texas. Okay, so you've got 67, which again, that's Charles Manson, and then you have 316. You probably could go decode all this out even more. I'm going to show you how some of this works. So that means every 6 feet is, in the United States, every 6 feet is a part of the Titanic. Okay, then also no coincidence is burying someone. You bury someone 6 feet down. Okay, and then there is also Masonic ciphers that I decoded that Gene was using that are a part of American history that Gene was using as a part of this. And those ciphers, they're overlays of Masonic stars over the United States of America. And I decoded the whole not stars, triangles. I decoded the whole thing out. I was freaking out. I kept the diagram. I was freaking out. But I'm like, just like, let me just keep decoding, because I know Gene has done this. So I'm unearthing American history here. But I'm after Gene. I would never be after the Masons. The Masons are also after Gene Jernigan Roberts, because she's taken everybody, everything, and exploited everything. And she's always got somebody to hide under, when literally she has no one to hide under. Okay, so then I decoded the Titanic journey. Okay, so I followed it, like doing the mirroring. Okay, and so I decoded all of this. So I decoded the Titanic journey, and I was able to follow a trail. I saved all the evidence of it. And also, I decoded her sinking the Titanic. I decoded it in Slidell. It was like 3 or 4 pages. Remember in previous recordings, and Gene Roberts kept claiming, the Royal Navy did enough for England. No, they did not. Then she tried to blame Irish shipbuilders. No, they did not do that either. She has tried to blame everyone. No, they did not, Gene. You did it. Your predecessors did it. I decoded it out. I know you did it. You did it. And another thing is, bringing this up, here we go, Donald Trump. So when I decoded her sinking the Titanic in 1912, when I decoded that whole thing, it linked and it connected, because at the time I was studying presidents. I was looking for the patterns in presidencies, okay? And I was seeing, like, how deep does this run? Okay, you got to go through all my recordings. So anyway, so I'm looking underneath I'm looking at the Titanic, and I see she's got Donald Trump encoded in it, like in a new layer of Charles Manson crypt ciphers. And I'm like, she purposely planned for him to become president based on the Titanic. And at the time, I knew, because this was like 9 years ago, I knew she sunk the Titanic. I did not understand why she so badly wanted to time Trump being president with the Titanic. And then he found out, and he came on in my brain. He didn't say anything. He let me know he was on. And he saw the page, and he didn't say anything. And then he went off. Okay. So Gene is trying to do an overlay right now of her friend Ackrat going, like, that he was going, yeah, okay. Like everything is copacetic. That's not what he was doing. He was in shock when he came on, and he wanted to see it himself. And he was looking through my eyes at my crypt cipher. They're not my crypt ciphers. They're my decoded crypt ciphers. They're Gene Roberts, Charles Manson occult ciphers. That's my decode. Gene Roberts steals from me because she's desperately pretending to be me, so she can't be blamed for writing them, or so she can't be blamed from stealing them. And so she can be the everyone's everything to the predecessors in her occult that were before her, who she desperately tries to blame Masons. So she's like kissing butts in the Masons, and then she's telling her Charles Manson occult, don't worry, I got you covered. I got you covered. You'll get away with anything. The Masons will take the fall. You see how slick Gene is with doing that? So that's why she desperately depends on my decoded ciphers, because she wasn't even smart enough to figure out what her predecessors did. She just knew what they did. She wasn't smart enough to figure it out. So, like, when it comes time for where she added in, She's like onto my brain right there. Unless it's present day, because I can tell present day that's her ciphers because it's nothing but syrup. Her predecessors, like I told you, the ciphers are they're more complicated. When Jean gets her hands on them in the 60s, it's nothing but syrup and freaking just adjective, just crap. Just, I mean, before that, it's all still bad, but you can tell it is an intellectual person. Like, know your adversary. You want your adversary, if you're going to go up against someone, you want your adversary to be intelligent. Okay. Her predecessors had high intellect in what they were doing. It's not complimenting them, it's saying they were intelligently written. They're harder to figure out. Okay. Jean, from 1967 forward, everything is fucking stupid and moldy marshmallow, and I always call it adjective. It's just fucking dumb, which pisses you off even more because you're realizing, you're knowing Jean Jernigan Roberts is your adversary, and you've got to fight off the fucking damn dumbest wannabe Barbarella of the world. I mean, she embarrasses the United States of America as much as she plans to do in the United States of America. And this is what you're up against, is stupid. So anyway, okay, so I went to go look through, I decoded the whole path. You can take the same trail or the Titanic distance. You can take the distance and you can overlay it in the United States of America. Okay. And I was able to overlay it. And then I figured out all kinds of new points. I figured out new triangles, and I could see that Jean Roberts definitely took this and added to it, and it goes all the way into Denver, and then it goes all the way north up into Canada. Okay, so looking at this again, I'm like, let me go look at this, and I also decoded over here in Queenstown and Southampton, and Cherbourg, and then what do you got? Cherbourg, Sharon Tate. Okay, so I decoded all of this already. So I just want to look at the path again, and I see that it looks like a square, and I also see that there's points going up. So to see the difference in miles between Cherbourg and Southampton would be the place to start looking to see as if this is the same in over there as if it is the same here in the United States of America, because you can see it's the same pattern. And then also, someone else was pointing out that looks like a smile. Jean's favorite thing to do is to use the smile. She points my eyes to smiley faces constantly. And she's pretending that she's the cartel doing it, and she's fucking not. You can see a picture of her on my website, and I completely ignore it. I'm like, you're just fucking stupid. You're the fucking stupidest fucking person in the world. The only reason you're getting away with anything is definitely because you have hostages, and definitely because you have ballistics, and definitely you have people trapped who can only hear or listen to you telling them lies about who you are. You are definitely using stolen AI. So, because people above ground, they know what's going on. This is insanity. So, anyway, so that looks like a smile. So then miles. Okay, so now, and moving forward here. Okay, so I'm going through all of this. I'm trying to find out where I was at. Okay, I want to get to the numbers. Okay, so looking at the math. Okay, so I did the miles. I always know to decode the miles. I've decoded so much in the past 9 years. It's insane. I've decoded police codes, cross comparing them to highways and crimes, and decoded them completely out, able to completely prove that Gene Roberts committed the crime. So I've decoded everything from ASCII to highways to police radio codes, to miles, to everything. Okay, so anyway, if you take the miles, the distance from the southernmost point to the top point where it goes up into Utah, or you take from Texas all the way up into the top of Oklahoma. Okay, so these are how the numbers come out. So 1014. Okay, so 14 is land. Okay, 14 is 28. Okay, so 1014 minus, I was trying to do 1014 minus 178. That comes out to 836. So some of these distances were 830 miles, 836 miles, and some of them were just over 1,000 miles. So seeing the difference in the miles is, you've got the 178, okay? And then you've got the 1014, and again, you've got the 411, and then you have the 836. And whoever's going, thank you, in my brain right now, talking on your little AI mic, I'm pretty sure you guys at this point can probably plan on being executed. Stop fucking lying to people. It's no point. She's going to lie to people who can't explain that she's lying to them. Any person saying, thank you, needs to be turned in, because it's going to trail you right to the very people that Gene is holding hostage. So then you have 836 miles minus the next one, 753, is 83 miles. And then if you superimpose the numbers, 836 miles minus 735 miles is 101. Okay. There was something that I decoded, and I only decoded a little bit of it. But there was something that I decoded back when I lived in Slidell, and I haven't really focused on it too much because I don't know what it is, and it'd just be another part of the Illuminati that Gene suckered, or she did something or something else for her to hide under, which is why she would point it out to me, and then she'd turn around and blame them. So whoever knows what this is can explain what it is. Okay, but if you ever looked at the word, the anagram, and I decoded, she's got a whole terror plot based around this, LOL. And it's about the world being islanded from itself all around the world. Okay, and it's supposed to start in the United States of America, and then the United States of America is supposed to go first, and then it goes around the world. I decoded the entire terror plot, which means there would be no trade route, there would be no travel, there would be no nothing, where each continent, which would be islanded. Okay, so I decoded out like a couple pages of this. Okay, so anyway, So the LOL, that is 101. Okay. And somebody pointed out to me a long time ago, I think I lived in Bartlesville. Somebody pointed out to me and they said, did you ever look at the LOL and did you ever realize that looks like a person who's drowning? Because it looks like it's two arms going up, two arms up with the face. So then I go and decode it. And I know she used it for 9/11 because that would be a person falling. So then I'm decoding this even more, and I'm seeing there's a thing called the 101 Club. And it's probably based off of, well, it's probably based off of the 700 Club. Okay, so anyway, I don't know a lot about what the 101 Club is or how she used it, but I can tell by me figuring it out that she wanted somebody else to hide under. So you'll have to go find out who's in the 101 Club and what is it. But anyway, so 836 minus 735, and you got to look at these numbers as if they're years. You got to do the subtraction, you got to do the adding, you got to do the math, you got to do all that. Okay, so then you can see her doing the World Trade Center attack. You can see her running trafficking rings. You can see all kinds of stuff in it. Okay, so then you have 753. Oh, and this is another thing to point out to you. Okay, so 14 is 28. That's the land, right? Okay, so if you put a division sign in the 1-4, that becomes a quarter. Okay, and that is also land. So 14, 28, and 25 all mean land. Okay, so anyway, so 753 minus 25 is 728 miles. So then 735 minus 25 is 710 miles. That is saying my death. Then you have 836 minus 25. That's 811. Okay, so you can see, like, if for everybody that's been going through these hundreds of recordings beginning to end, you know all these numbers being so instantly you see the results, you go, oh my God, everything is glaring out. Okay, the one thing I can't figure out, I think what I did was, I see what I did. Okay, because I'm like, where did I get this result? 8117. So I noticed the pattern in the 710 and the 811. So that combined would be 8117. Okay, so you want to decode all of that out, and that would be 17, and that would be Q. If you take 8117 minus half of that, it would be 8117 minus 407. So you see the 4 and 7 is 11, which is the center numbers. That brings you out to 4110. So then again, there's your 411, but notice the sums of all of the numbers. So obviously, like I told you, she's running major hostage rackets. and she's been committing terrorism. Okay, so then I wanted to point out in summary the significant combinations of these numbers. And also notice what's missing here is the 9. So you have the 400, the 715, the 513, the 315, and the 200. Okay. And then also the 307 and the 083. Okay. So this goes on. Hang on. Okay. So this also connects to the SS Atlantic. Okay. So the SS Atlantic was the White Star Line that sank in 1873. It was the worst disaster to affect the company until the sinking of the Titanic. Another ship of the same company, the RMS Republic, also sank in 1909, a few years before the Titanic disaster after being damaged in collision. So you know instantly to do the math. I instantly see all kinds of decode in here. But you know to do the math, you know to figure all of this out. So these dates are all important. Also, something else to point out, my high schools are in here. So Red Mountain High School, and then SS was the name of the paper. It was SS Express was the name of my high school paper in North Chicago. She used that all the time. I saved a ton of my papers. Everything I've lost now. So that goes to that. And then the impact the cause of this sinking was a storm, and it struck rocks near the coast of Ware, Nova Scotia. And then the impact caused the ship to rapidly flood, and it sank within minutes within the loss of 562 lives. So you can, like, instantly there you can see 13. You can see 71, my year of birth. You can see Mario's year of birth, 1972 in it. You can see 9/11 in this. You probably can see 4/19 in this. So the SSS Atlantic was it's not probably because it's in the math, it's in the numbers. The SSS Atlantic was purposely sunk also. So then, also this song, I hate this song. I've always hated this song. You know Gene's obsession with everything Jefferson. Okay, so you remember the group Jefferson Starship or Jefferson Airplane? Okay, so they're not my style of music. The band Chicago, I love the city Chicago. The band Chicago with Peter Cetera, not my style. I do not like them. I don't like it. I don't like Jefferson and Jefferson Starship, and I don't like Chicago. They're just like, it's like being forced to listen to like REO Speedwagon and I decoded them too. She used them too. She loves light rock. She loves old rock. I pick on my mom. I use my mom because I don't know what else to call it. So I only know it from my childhood, but I call it Cool FM rock. And my mom, she used to listen to Cool FM when I was little, which is a radio station in Arizona that would play like old, like 50s and 60s. And I was a teenager, and I'd be like, one time I went to go change the station, and my mom was like, pause off. And I'm like, I don't want to listen to this. Like, can we listen to KZZP? And my mom was like, no, we're listening to freaking damn Cool FM. She was like that. She's like, you don't touch my Cool FM. But anyway, which is so funny because look at me today. I'm Mrs. like old school. So anyway, like, I pick on my mom with that. So I don't know another way to describe the music that Gene has been using since the 60s. It's all Cool FM style of music. So anyway, so Jefferson Starship or Jefferson Airplane came out with a song called Sarah. So, you know, that's connected to Ruby Ridge. Ruby Ridge. Okay. And it's connected from regarding 9/11 terrorism, present day to the end. And he's referring to the end of the United States of America in this song. I'll never find another girl like you. For happy endings, it takes two. We're fire and ice. A dream won't come true. Sarah, Sarah. And he's also singing about the sinking of these ships. She sunk these ships. Sarah, Sarah, storms are brewing in your eyes. No time is a good time for goodbye. So you can probably go read up or go talk to Jefferson Starship. And then, of course, look what they formed in 1974. So you see the 11, the 9/11 there. Okay, so then the Ruby Ridge standoff, which I told you Sarah Weaver was in 11-day, see again, no coincidence, siege in 1992 between Randy Weaver and his family, federal agents in the Idaho mountains. The Idaho mountains, I also want to point out to you, I decoded, this is how stupid Gene Roberts' people are. And they were literally acting like they were know-it-all show-offs. I mean, this is how stupid they are. So when I was living in Slidell 9 years ago, and she was like, this is Gene Roberts' occult. Gene suckers people into her shit, and she acts like she's Mrs. Professor, teacher, instructor, and she feeds them lines of crap, and then they get on and their egos are bloated, like the guy that got on in my brain last night shouting whatever he shouted, and they told him to take a hike because he's just making himself look stupid, whoever that was or whatever he said. They were like, please go, just go. So anyway, they were like, and then they feel their egos are bloated and they think they know everything. And then they're going to tell me and I'm like, are you fucking stupid? So anyway, because I've been decoding all of her crimes. And so then Jean thinks she gets away with it. And then acting stupid is a part of her act. Just like she refuses to pay attention to, like, they literally know they're lying. In my brain, some of them go, we're literally lying through our teeth about Christina. We're being forced to run this con. What do you want us to do here? Some people do say that in my brain. And Gene Roberts and her people, they're just all excitedly, they just keep it up. They knowingly lie through their teeth. And they just keep it up. Committing terrorism, running their rackets. So, okay, so this was in Idaho. Okay, so 9 years ago when I lived in Slidell, I was decoding the Statue of Liberty, parts of the Statue of Liberty. And the part of this Statue of Liberty that I was decoding at the time was the Statue of Liberty's crown. Okay. And I realized the Statue of Liberty's crown is connected to the state of Rhode Island. Okay. And so I was doing all the decode work. I was decoding her crown, and I knew it was connected to the state of Rhode Island. And Gene Roberts' people came on, and they kept talking about the Statue of Liberty has to do with the Idaho. And then they started tearing apart Idaho's name, being vulgar. And then they were like gloating and bloating and just sounding stupid as fuck. And I'm like, you people are fucking stupid. So anyway, all they did was tell on themselves for being in Charles Manson or Gene Roberts' people. So anyway, so this all connects together. Let me see where's the rest of the mouth I have here. Hang on. There's more, unless it's nice saved in the big numbers. These are all big numbers, but no, it's not showing up on my phone. She likes to hack my phone. She likes to try to get away with stuff. So anyway, she likes to steal from me and then run off and tell lies to people and just worship her and do what she says and all that. Okay, so where was I at? I need to open a web page here. Okay, so other notable things to point out is the distance around the world is approximately 40,075 kilometers. And note it's 75. Note the 40. When I was seeing that, Jean got in my brain and she's like, and she's like basically saying F you without saying F you. And her people go, whoa. And they start pointing out Cypress Hill. And I'm like, are you fucking stupid? I'm like, let me tell you guys. In my brain, I'm like, let me tell you what the 40 is. I don't even know if Cypress Hill means that. He could just mean like underground hideouts. Who knows what he's meaning? He's Irish. I don't know. I don't mess with Cypress Hill. Actually, I love Cypress Hill. They're good guys. Not to be fucked with, very good guys. They got heavily lied to. And then they realized they got heavily lied to. And then they were like, Christina, just make reports against Jean and just maintain your semblance and make reports against Jean. So they could have just been rapping, and then Jean hit him up and like, which she could, I don't know, ask Cypress Hill. So anyway, the 40, okay, 40 is 4D. And that could be 4 days, okay? So notice D is the fourth number. So it's 24 or it's H4. Before it became a swastika, and now the swastika is wiped away, before it became a swastika, it was the 4-leaf clover. It means good luck. Now the swastika is wiped away and everybody just uses the 4-leaf clover. Okay, so anyway, I decoded parts of, actually a lot of, the periodic table of elements, okay? So when I was in Slidell, I noticed in the bottom right-hand corner was this group of 40 where I had been decoding these individual elements, and I'm noticing that they're all sitting in the same area. And I'm like, what is this? Is this like the secret assassin corner? What is this? And so so I'm like, this is like no coincidence. This is like all like a little shopping basket for killers over here. So I'm like decoding all of these elements. And so that refers to the bottom right hand corner of the periodic table of elements. Then I was told when I lived in Slidell, there's actually elements that we have that aren't on the periodic table of elements. Like they're hiding them. They said there's 3 of them and they're hiding them. And then later on somebody said there's probably a lot more than 3 that they're hiding. So the periodic table of elements that we know today is not the complete periodic table of elements. Some of them are hidden. But I mean, I decoded so much. I always know to go look at elements. Like I decode the layouts. I decode the atomic number. I decode the heck out of everything. And I knew that it would be important because in college, it was impressed in my brain to memorize the periodic table of elements. Get to know all the elements and memorize them. So anyway, the Earth being 40075, that goes to the periodic table of elements. So you know that's connected there. So, and then so it's 24901. Okay, and then So that's important. The world circumference is important. Also, the length of the United States of America is important, which is 2,800 miles, I believe. I think I already went through that. Yeah, 2,800 miles. So you see instantly there. And then it's roughly 1,650 miles there. And so you can instantly see 1110. So see the ones, the lightning bolts. So then, okay, so that's the Titanic width. Okay, and then also notable is the length of the Mississippi River is 2,340 miles. It says in this picture 40 miles. And then in the words it says it flows 2,350 miles. But you see how close it is to 2,440? So that's connected. And then, okay, and that connects to Route 66, okay, which is 2,448 miles, okay? All right, so now let's go even further. So I took the numbers and I broke this down even more to figure out the alpha ciphers part of it behind it. So I took the 5.9267316. Okay, so that would be every 6 feet would be the Titanic. Okay, so I took that and I broke it down. So what I did was I did the regular and then I did an offset, and then I could instantly see words and everything popping out of the offset, but I didn't even write any of it down. I got so busy on the A12, B2, C3. Okay, so it's AIGBF, and then put in parentheses GCA, and then put in parentheses F, and then put a parentheses E, and then put a close parenthesis, and then at the end put an open parenthesis, and then put LV, and then put a closed parenthesis. So you have 667316. You have 661 is 13. You have 71 and 3. You have 731 equals 11. Then you have the offset letters BJH, CG, HD, BG. Okay, what I've already explained to you, 1428 is land. Okay, so you have Iceland. This is all what I see in this. And I just wrote down the basics, but it's enough to keep going and going and going and going and going, figuring this out. So Iceland, Greenland, Virginia, Manson. She's using a Manson reference there. 972 is in it. And then D, and then 4, which is Dallas. I'm not saying Dallas is D4. I'm saying there's a 4 that goes next to the D. Dallas, Texas. And then 279. Then also Route 66. And then 4. So that's 2. And then the 44. And then the 8. And then that's 28. And then Fabergé egg. See, I'll code Fabergé egg. Note the word Berg in Fabergé egg. So Route 66 is connected to the Titanic also. Also in this is my social security number, which has a Bigfoot in it. It's in my social security number. I can see my birthday in it, and I can see Mario's birthday in it. So then I keep decoding even more, and then I see missing feet, and then missing FEAT, and then I see missing fleet. And then I see fuel, then I see Cambridge, then I see Face the Music. Gene has been using, Charles Manson, the whole, how she abuses music. It goes all the way back to Adam and Eve, okay? Music was invented in Genesis, okay? So where I first started decoding Face the Music was in really, really old crypt ciphers that her predecessors wrote around the early 1900s. I would say between 1900 and 1940, maybe 1950. I wouldn't even say 1950. I'd say between 1900 and 1940. She's picked it up and she's turned it into her cliche syrup crap, and she throws it around everywhere like she's Mrs. Fabulous. But it's like she picks the ciphers that I decode and then she goes and da-da-da. So even the guitar, I like decoded the guitar strings. It'll scare the heck out of you. Like what she did with the guitar strings. So she always uses a guitar to brag, a guitar like the instrument guitar, to brag about being Charles Manson also. Then I also see fourth ship. So the number 4 is very, very, very important here. So, then think how low evil what she did also with her name Jernigan. Okay, so she's using Journey again, but she even put Ray Nagin's name in her name. Okay, so then, also I already pointed out that, no, I didn't put this out yet. So fourth line, so there's 3 lines there, but there's also a fourth line which you want to draw from the bottom of Louisiana with the same mileage distance, make an exact clone of those lines, and then it goes up, and where does it go? It goes right into Springfield, Illinois. And what's next to Springfield, Illinois? Bloomington. What does everybody know about Springfield? Everybody knows it from who? The Simpsons, Symphony music. So where does Homer? Homer is Shakespeare. Where does Homer work? He works at a nuclear facility. Okay, so all of this goes to all decoded ciphers that I've already decoded a long time ago. And then you also have Buffalo Springfield, the music group. Okay, so this is why Jean is using flowers for Algernon. So she's saying algae. She's referring to mold spores and algae, which I don't know. I told you that in the other recordings. I don't know how she's doing that to get control of the human brain. She keeps claiming it's some kind of powder, and then I researched where she does something to destroy the pineal gland in your brain. And then I'm like, well, you have to be born with that destroyed because everybody has AI. So, but she claims it's like powder. But then I keep decoding stuff about algae. So does it come from algae? So I don't know. Then also next to that is Mark Twain Forest. So a fourth line needs to be done on that. So also in that is FA, then FRI, then LAR, then Globe, then San Carlos, then Ferns. The plant, a fern. A fern is the first plant that ever existed. It's the oldest plant. And then Galley is in it, and Gilly is in it, and Kitchen Creek Falls is in it. Oh no, this was something else I was decoding. I was decoding more of her doing the Charles Manson murders. So I was doing the mileage and the distance between Globe, where I grew up in the 70s, where I spent my childhood, and Chatsworth Canyon, and then Benedict Canyon, okay? And I'm going over where she ice raped me when I was little, and then I've like dumped the nail polish all over the bathroom, and Gene Roberts was using me as like a little scary like Annabelle freaking doll to like reenact her like little psycho Death to Pigs scene. So anyway, I mean, I'm literally being stalked by Charles Manson. Gene Roberts literally is the leader of Charles Manson. So then I go do the mileage on all this. So it connects to Kitchen Creek Falls near San Diego. So this comes out of all that FA, FRI, LAR, Globe, San Carlos, Ferns, Galley, Gilly, which would be Mickey Gillies. And then to Benedict Canyon would be 3 hours and 13 minutes, or 182 miles. Also note, which I've already decoded this, but I'm just pointing it out again. She killed someone named Jay Sebring. Okay, people are just now catching on that Gene Roberts is a liar, and that she committed all these crimes, and she layered all these crimes she committed one over the over for the past 60 years. I told you Jay goes to my grade school years with the little hand clapping game that he's playing. And then also something else people are pointing out to you right now. That hand clapping game that you used to play in grade school, there was 4 of you, and you were clapping hands above. So 2 of you would be making a roof, okay, like clapping, and 2 of you would be clapping hands below. So that goes to that map also. So then she layers the J over and over and over again throughout my whole childhood. And then it goes back before I was born. He was convicted. Charles Manson was convicted and sent in jail in 71. I decoded all this. And then I was born in 71, and she links his conviction with my birth. And she's going from him and now to me, her little future sacrifice. Okay. And she's been stalking me my entire life and my family. So anyway, so Jay Sebring is the name of someone whose life she took. So that would also go to the whole Jay theme. Okay. And then like To Kill a Mockingbird and Mockingbird Jay and all that all goes to Jay. Then also Sebring, that goes to AIW 70s. Okay. My mom and Jeff were in a Sea Ray club. They love Sea Rays. They had a little competition. Like my mom and Jeff loved Sea Rays, and my grandma loved Bayliners. And so Sea Ray, before that, they had, and I decoded all this too, before they got their first Sea Ray, they had a Chris Craft, and I decoded all of that. I mean, she's stalking the heck out of all of us. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes to the Chris Craft too. So the Sea Ray goes to Jay Sebring. So then she also overlays her name in Jay's name. Okay, so all of the names she purposely chose, she purposely selected. Okay, the people she purposely selected. These are all sacrifices. That's what all of these murders are sacrifices. Okay, so Jay, if you put J-A and then you put a Y and then you put an N to make it Jane, and then you put J-A and then you do an E-N, J-A-E-N, okay, and then that has Yee in it, and then CL code on Yee, and then that has Mrs. Robinson in it, and it probably is the connecting point to where I also decoded her Charles Manson ciphers, where she's referring to herself as God, and she's referring to her son as Jesus, and then she also refers to herself as Jesus. She calls herself Mary Magdalene. She calls herself Jesus, and she calls herself oh my gosh, what is the other? Oh, she calls herself Jezebel. This all goes to Revelations. See all code Revelations. So then Mary Magdalene, Mockingbird Lane is in Mary Magdalene. And then also something to point out, Jean claims to be a Mormon, okay? That's how she lives her little fake life, okay? And you know who she is and what she's done. Okay, so that goes to Roman. Now, I decoded all, I decoded Mormon and Roman. It's no more man. There's a whole bunch of stuff to it, okay? I decoded the whole thing out. And when I first started decoding Roman Polanski's name coming out of everything, she was watching in the background and she was like freaking out. Like she's watching through my eyes in the background. So I was looking to slide out and she started freaking out. She was trying to hide that it wasn't Charles Manson that did the World Trade Center attack. She was trying way back then to try to blame the Masons. This was not the Masons. That was Gene Roberts and her Manson occult. So anyway, what she's doing there is Mormon. She's using Roman's name, Roman Polanski. So she's literally bragging about being Charles Manson by posing as a Mormon. You see what I'm saying? She hides in plain sight, like her hair, her big freaking fuzzy blonde hair. She's got a lion's mane. She's bragging about lying. She always does stuff like that. So anyway, I'm going to end this recording, and then I've still got more to decode and get up, but it probably won't be till Thursday.